Hello and welcome. You are in an NGO where you have so many things to do. You are full of ideas, what you want to accomplish. Maybe you also find yourself in a process of change. So you are in need of new volunteers. In this webinar, I'm going to show you different ways on how to recruit volunteers. We're going to look into different channels where you can find the volunteer of your dream. We're going to see how you have to prepare as an organization before recruiting those volunteers, and also what type of volunteers you're actually looking for. My name is Jana Pieske and I'm a coach for remote and hybrid working teams. With my organization Fair Linked, I'm supporting NGOs and social entrepreneurs on the way to digital transformation. At Fair Linked, we're helping NGOs on their digital transformation through coaching, online courses, webinars, and also our blog where you can find a lot of information about online leadership, online team management, communication, and collaboration. So enough from myself, let's start. Today we're going to look into the way how you can find your dream volunteer. In this webinar, I'm going to show you how you can get this match. It's a match, volunteer recruitment, because we are not looking for just anybody. We are looking for the right person for your organization, the person who meets the requirements you need for the task you have to do, and also at the same time somebody who just fits into your team. So it's not such an easy task, but if you know how, then it can be a successful one. So let me show you the different ways on how to reach out to volunteers. So in this first video, we're going to look especially into the volunteer person itself, like who are you imagining as your volunteer, who are you actually looking for, and into your organization. So let's dive into that topic. When we're going to look for volunteers, we have to ask ourselves some certain questions. But those questions should always be in a way leading us to our goal. Our goal is get the first talk. Your objective for reaching out to volunteers is that they start contacting you, especially if you're looking for volunteers in the remote way, online through different channels. Then it is important for you to make it as easy as possible for the volunteer to contact you. The only point where you have to be in is the moment talking to them, because this is the moment where you get to know one another, where you can see if you match one another's requirements, if you can fulfill dreams, if it really works, if the team fits. So your goal is, whenever we're talking here, is to get the first talk. Make it as easy as possible for the interested people to reach out to your organization and to get to know you. You should definitely invite them to join you for the first talk, because this is the moment where you can convince them, where they can ask you questions, and then once you're in the first step of contacting, then it's getting easier. So your objective is get the first talk. So when you want to go there, you have to ask you some certain questions. Your questions are who you want to get to talk with, who is the person you are looking for. So ask yourself, who is my volunteer? And the other question is what can you offer those volunteers? What are your sweet spots? What are the perks? What is the task you're offering? So what are you going to talk about to those volunteers? What can you offer? How's the procedure looking like in your organization? So before you start your recruitment process, you should definitely start with these two questions: who and what. Let's start right away with the who question. I want you now to close your eyes for 2 minutes and just imagine your dream candidate. So you were closing your eyes. Who would be my dream candidate for this position? If I could wish for anybody, then who would be this person? So the two questions you have to ask yourself are who and what. So for you to figure it out, I'm gonna show you a short video. Let's see.
You are looking for new members in your organization to organize more great activities. So the first step you should be asking yourself, who would be the perfect match? Think about the super volunteer and try to imagine yourself the best volunteer for this position or task. Ask yourself questions like, how old is your super volunteer? Does gender play a role? What should be his or her motivation to join your organization? How much time should this person have? What specific skills would help to do the job? Should this person know a specific language, IT knowledge, or should he or she have professional experience? Recruiting volunteers is like dating. You are imagining yourself the perfect partner, and people who would love to volunteer are looking for the right organization. And like it happened with real-life dating, sometimes someone might stumble over your way who didn't even plan to volunteer in an organization. But doesn't matter. If your potential volunteer plan to get engaged in volunteering or not, you need to identify your sweet spots, the things which make you as an organization and volunteering with you special. So ask yourself, what makes volunteering with your organization special? You should ask yourself questions like, what involves the task? What is the fun part about it? Does volunteering with you has to be time intensive, or are there some easy short-time volunteering opportunities? Is volunteering time-bound to a specific day or time slot, or can volunteering happen very flexible? Can you accommodate people with special needs? Is it a certain location, or is remote volunteering possible? Do you offer some perks, like special events, discounts, trainings, or networking opportunities? You could also ask yourself what motivates your current volunteers to work with you and learn from them. How does the onboarding process look like? And then, at the end, you should definitely ask yourself, who is the person going to be in contact with the volunteers? Nobody wants to communicate with an anonymous organization. You should give your recruitment process a face. Appoint a person in your team to be the point of contact for your volunteers.
Welcome back. So you learned a lot of different things about who's your who and what are you offering there. So let's just go back into these questions. Let's see your who. You are looking for your super volunteer who is just the right match for your organization. So there it is super important that when you go into this task that you really take it seriously. I meet a lot of organizations telling me, hey Jana, I can need just anybody. We don't require any certain skills. If you're looking for anybody, then you're actually looking for nobody. You know that maybe from advertisement, if organizations or companies try to reach out to you and they're not really specifically reaching out to you, then you don't feel addressed. So for your strategy, it is so important that you identify a clear target group of who you want to talk to. So your who is super important. If you are in the lucky situation that you could just work with anybody, I recommend you to do various targeted campaigns to different groups of volunteers. So you should still split up your whole target group you would like to reach out to into smaller chunks of people and do targeted campaigns there. Because if you just ask for everybody, everybody equals nobody. So nobody wants to be anybody. So you should be addressing them directly. It is super important when you go into this task asking yourself about your super volunteer. There are things which are a need to have, which are super urgent, essential, which people have to bring. There are certain skills, maybe also some time availabilities, some responsibilities, maybe a certain age or a certain gender. We have seen this already in the video before, so it is so important that you differentiate between the things which are super important to you and which would be just nice to have. Because if you have those nice to have things, if we're dreaming, some people of us, if we dream very big, maybe gonna be very difficult for volunteers to meet our high expectations. So bring yourself down on a base level. It is good to have the idea where we want to go, but also be open for surprise. Maybe there's a person you didn't even imagine who's coming along and could really bring a change to your team, and would be a great opportunity to have this person in your team. So now we have been looking at the who. Let's see what the what is bringing us. In the video you have seen that it is so important for you to be clear on the task you're offering, the environment you're offering, the different perks and the different benefits you have at your organization. So it is important that you are pretty clear on who you are and what you can bring your volunteers. So you should sit down, take yourself the time to look into this issue, look into what makes your organization special, what is motivating you to volunteer there, what was maybe the motivation for you to join this organization. So all those things that can help you to identify like these sweet spots why a volunteer should join you. It helps you to be very clear on the task the volunteer should be doing and on the environment in your organization, so that you can communicate it better. Because remember, wherever you're going to shout out, you just have a little bit of time and you have to speak on point. You have to explain to them in very few words why it makes sense for them to join your organization. So it helps you if you are very clear on what is special about your organization, what is like the reason they should be joining you. So think about the different things. When you are imagining your target group, then also imagine what would they be interested in, depending on the age, depending on their background, what are the different things you can offer them. One thing is very important to me. We are thinking about our volunteer recruitment process, but we're forgetting that we need to know what is happening exactly once the person is interested in our organization. So you have really to prepare those steps. We're going to look further into that in the second video, but I just want to make you aware of that you should not only be aware of what the organization is offering, and also how you want to communicate the things you are offering and who's the face of your organization there. So to wrap up, our objectives are: get the first talk. You want to meet the volunteer, and now we already identified who is who is your super volunteer, who's going to work with you, and what makes the organization special, how does the task look like, what can you offer a volunteer. So the who and the what, these are the 2 points which we already discussed now, which you should definitely be working on. If it helps you, on my webpage, I just linked it here, you can find a worksheet and a checklist supporting you on your self-exploration on this journey. You should definitely take the time to write it down and to clarify it. Communicate it also with your team members on who you are looking for and what are you offering. Make it clear, and I think this worksheet can definitely help you do the task. This is maybe a moment where you could pause the video and think about your who and your what. And then once you're back, once you have this clear, we're going to check out the how. Welcome back. You have defined your super volunteer. You are sure on what you can offer, what the task looks like. And now the biggest question is how. How do you reach out to your target group, the person you have been imagining, the person you want to reach out to with your super special offer? So the how is our question now. How do I communicate to the people I want to communicate with? So the onboarding process is so important. Remember, our objective is to get the first talk. So if you want to get the first talk, it is good for your other part to know how to get there as well. How does the onboarding process look like? You can be super transparent with it, because it is good to communicate it right from the beginning. How does your onboarding process look like? When you're on your journey of self-exploration in your team, it makes sense to write down the different steps each volunteer should pass to join your team. If you're a small organization, it can be just that simple, like writing an email, having first talk with Jane, and then meeting the team. But be very clear on how this onboarding process should look like, so that everybody in your team is aware about it. And also you can communicate it to interested people so that they know how the journey is going to look like. Here I bring you an example of an onboarding process at the organization 826 Michigan, where they have a very clear volunteer roadmap. So from the first application, they have an info session where all the volunteers who are interested can join. Then they have a paperwork to be completed, and then they actually even have two different paths. They have the path of volunteering with students and volunteering behind the scenes in the administration. So there you can see that according to the way people want to volunteer, they have different ways of onboarding process. So depending on the size and the variety of activities you offer, think about how your onboarding process should look like according to your activities, according to your volunteers. And also always have your target group in mind. You have to think about what is needed for them, what is the best way for them, because this is the person you want to talk to. I think it's pretty interesting to see how the onboarding processes looks like at other organizations. I hope it gives you an idea on how it could look like in your organization. Now we have seen who is your super volunteer, who's the person you want to reach out to. You have seen what you want to talk to them about, and you could see the how the onboarding process should look like. I think now you are really prepared to reach out, to voice out your offer of volunteering with you to the greater community. You are ready now to find your volunteer. This was everything for this video, but in the next video I'm gonna promise you're gonna see the different channels on how to reach out different people. Now that we know the target groups, we have to see where we're gonna find those people we want to talk to. So see you next video, have fun applying everything you learned today, and good luck on your volunteer search.